So students, now we'll concentrate on the topic watershed management. As you know, this topic comes under the water conservation topic. For water conservation, you'll be writing what is water conservation, and then the two methods that are opted for water conservation. The first one is the rainwater harvesting, which we have already discussed. And so the second one is watershed management. So just before moving on into the topic, let me tell you what is water conservation. Let me remind you what it is. Water conservation is the process of saving water for future utilization. That is, storing water at the present and using it in the future. So that is water conservation. Now the purpose of water conservation, as I told you, is to save water for the requirements of the future, because now we have seen a lot of issues related to water, the conflicts arising due to the water scarcity problems and so on. So it is our responsibility to save water at present to use it for the future uses. So water conservation is nothing but the process of saving water for future utilization. Now coming to watershed management, you should first know what is watershed. So watershed is actually a land area from which water drains under the influence of gravity into a stream, lake, reservoir or other surface water body. Surface water body is nothing but the space on the top of the soil where the water is collected. Like we can say that even the runoff water is the surface water body. So the runoff water, that is the excess water, runs off from the surface of the land and moves on to other water bodies like rivers, lakes or other water reservoirs. So watershed is in a simpler form as it is provided in the notes for you. These notes I have really made it very concise and it's very easy for you all to follow. So watershed is the area from which water drains into surface water bodies like river, lake, etc. Now what causes this drainage of water? It is actually the gravitational pull. And so the management of rainfall and the runoff caused by the rainfall is called watershed management. So watershed management is the management of rainfall and the resultant runoff is called watershed management. So I think it's clear for you what is watershed and watershed management. So watershed is nothing but the area in which the water is collected and it drains to other water bodies. And managing the rainfall and its runoff is called watershed management. Let's see what are the objectives of watershed management. It's very clear in the notes. The first objective is to minimize the risk of flood, drought and landslide. Flood is the excess flow of water or excess availability of water. Drought, you know, is the opposite, scarcity of water. The second objective is to manage the water for irrigation, hydropower generation, etc. Third one is to generate huge employment opportunities. You may be wondering how watershed management is going to provide a number of employment opportunities. See the second point, guys. Here we see that the objective is to manage water for irrigation purpose and for the generation of hydroelectric power. Now if you want to run a hydroelectric power plant and all, you need a number of personnel working here, skilled persons working there. And so this is like providing a number of employment opportunities to the skilled professionals. The next objective is to protect the soil from soil erosion that is caused by the water runoff. So what is soil erosion? Yeah, it is the removal of top layer of the soil. And this is usually caused by agents like the runoff water, or it is also caused by wind or by all other biotic disturbances. And the last one is to raise the groundwater level. You know that if the level of groundwater is high, the availability of water will be very high in the form of like the water available in the well, springs and all will be very high. Okay, so these are the objectives of watershed management. Yeah, now coming to the main point, that is water management techniques. So these are actually the water management techniques are the civil structures that are constructed to improve the storage of water or to improve the level of groundwater. So the various civil structures constructed are the first one is trenches, second one is earthen dam, or it is also called a stone embankment. Third is farm pond, and the fourth one is underground barrier, or it's also called as dike. Now trenches is nothing but pit, pulin yeah. So trenches are actually number of pits that are dug at equal intervals. Like if you consider a particular area and the area that is much prone to floods and all, in order to collect water, what is done there is a number of pits are formed, or the pits are dug, and it is actually dug in equal intervals so that water can be collected equally. Second one is earthen dam or stone embankment. This is actually done to check the runoff water. Like the best example for the earthen dam or stone embankment is the paddy field and all. Urla vayal ella irukku adha eduthukalam. See, for in the case of paddy field or other agriculture farms, if you have a plot of agricultural land, now what we do is the borders of the agriculture pond will be, do we fence it? No. What we do there is, in that agricultural land, like paddy field, for example paddy field, we create a dam like structure or a taduppu madri vachiruvom. And that dam is not created like the big dams that we do. It's just a boundary between your paddy field and the neighboring paddy field. So that is done using clay and all, and we just make use of simple stones to create that barrier. So that is the earthen dam. Third one is farm pond. This is again visible, and this can also be seen in the paddy fields and all. See, in every field or for 2 to 3 fields together, there will be a small pond. And you know what is the purpose of the pond there? The purpose of the pond is to collect the excess water that is drained from the nearby areas during the rainfall, and this water is used for further irrigation purpose. The last one is underground barrier, or it is also called as dike. Now this is certain barrier that is created in the underground water flow areas, and what it does is it conserves the water, or it increases the absorptivity of the land and raises the water table. So the various watershed management techniques are trenches, earthen dam, farm pond and underground barriers. Now there was a scheme created to increase or to manage the watershed or the water that is collected for future use, and it was compiled under the topic Integrated Watershed Management. So now we are going to see what are the components of integrated watershed management. Now I think some 6 to 7 points are here, and we'll just concentrate on it one by one. The first one is water harvesting. Water in the dry season. So water in watershed. One was like afforestation or agroforestry. Now we have studied agroforestry already. It was under the topic the methods to prevent soil erosion. What is agroforestry? Planting of trees in between the croplands. So we can do that, and we can also go for afforestation, or we also call it as afforestation, So what is afforestation? Afforestation is actually planting more trees. Third one is reducing soil erosion. Yeah, again the methods that we have already studied. So these are the methods like terracing, contour forming, etc. And this is done at slopy areas to prevent the soil erosion. The next component is scientific mining and quarrying. Yes, it is clearly given in the notes. Improper mining and quarrying leads to landslides. What is mining? Mining and quarrying both are extraction of minerals, and quarrying in specific it is like extraction of larger minerals like stones, granite, marbles and all. So improper mining actually leads to landslides. So what we can do is, in order to prevent the ill effects of mining, we can plant soil binding plants and we can follow contour trenching, even terracing methods and all to hold the soil together and prevent the landslides. The next one is public participation. Obviously, in environmental science, the solution for all the topics lies in public participation also, like public participation or awareness given to the people. So people's cooperation and participation is compulsory here, it's essential. People must be motivated to follow the water conservation techniques. So whatever we know, whatever we are studying under the environmental science is to be implemented. It's not just to be studied, written in the exam scoring marks, but as a future engineer, you have responsibility to save the nature, to take care of the environment. So whatever you have studied, you are going to impart it to others too. So next is minimizing the livestock population. You know what is livestock? The livestock is in villages. If you for a single family, they may have some around 4 to 5 goats, 1 or 2 cows and all. So now, in order to have a hygienic atmosphere, or in order to create a hygienic atmosphere for the livestock, we need plenty of water. The water that is required for a human survival is much less than the water required for maintaining the livestock. So we can reduce the livestock population in the surroundings, like in the villages and all. So it should be ready. So these are the various components of integrated watershed management. Let me just recall the point once again. The components are water harvesting. Second one is afforestation and agroforestry. Third one is reducing soil erosion by using various methods like terracing, contour forming, etc. Then the fourth one is scientific mining and quarrying. Fifth one, public participation, and the sixth one is minimizing livestock population. So guys, you can make use of these notes and this audio link for your future reference. Whenever you have doubts regarding it, you can ping back to me. I'm always available online, I'm available online till 4 p.m. today. So you can just please go through the topic and come back to me for the doubt.